All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our favorite Saturday morning SMS. And very happy to have Soumya Madam regularly joining and much before on time. We have a good woman power, Sujata Madam, Soumya Madam, Annapurna Kabra Madam. And now we have new sweet speaker from Delhi, Anushri Garg. And let me introduce Anushri Madam for the benefit of everyone. Anushri is an FCA, LLB, BCom, and also certified in ESG. She's been practicing as a chartered accountant and a partner in the firm Suraj Garg and Associates. She's been practicing over a decade now, and her specialization is the field of from the service tax era and now into GST, and also exposure to direct taxes and stat audits. She has been representing the firm in before the tax authorities in all the matters of appeal. She is also faculty of GST by the Indirect Taxes Committee of ICAI. And recently she has completed the much spoken course of ESG, which I have no clue what it is. And she's also practicing in the implementation of sustainability expert, and she has taken various webinars and seminars on ESG at ICI. So along with the GST, she is now into ESG also. Prior to being partner in Suraj Garg, she's been associated with a law firm, Chimir Amrit Legal LLP, as indirect taxes and direct taxes consultant. She's also been engaged with Rajiv Gupta and Associates for various activities. Apart from this, she's been active speaker and convener in various seminars conducted by ICA, TCA, RTCA, Regional Training Institution, Institute of Indian Audit and Accounts Departments. With this brief note, I introduce Anushri. And Anushri ma'am, very happy to have you taking the session on section 31 on 31st March. I wanted to have it, but now it's 29th March. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Venugopal sir. Thank you for the kind introduction and inviting me to be a speaker. So let's start with the topic for today. Good morning, everyone. So the topic that we have decided to today is Section 31 of the CGST Act and its related rules. Now, Section 31, as we all know, talks about tax invoice. So invoice, although it is a procedural document, but the whole idea of claiming the IPC depends on this very document. That is why this section plays a very important role. And let us just have a look at the kind of documents that are there in section 31 and the rules, rule 46 to 55, when they are read along with section 31. So tax invoice, as we all know, is the basic document for all taxable supplies and the ISD. And other than the composition dealer and other than ISD, for all the taxable supplies, we have the tax invoice. In case of ISD, we have the ISD invoice. For exempted and supplier of goods from a composition registered person, we have bill of supply. Then again, we had a special scheme for composition for the service providers by way of notification number 2, 2019. So they also have to issue a bill of supply. Then we have another document called invoice cum bill of supply, which is to be issued by persons who are supplying both taxable and exempted goods and services together in a single invoice. And this is being supplied to an unregistered person. Now, any amendment in these invoices or the other documents that has to be carried out through the debit or credit note. Then we have advance received for supply. So even when the supply has not taken place, but any advance has been received for that supply, that is, the supply has been agreed to be made and the advance has been received for it, the receipt voucher is to be issued. Refund of advance where tax invoice is not issued. In case the supply does not take place at a later point of time, then refund voucher is issued against this receipt voucher. Then if any payment is made by registered person to suppliers whose supplies are covered under RCM, then we have the payment voucher for that. We all know these documents, but just quickly going through these so that the case studies that we have can be taken care of. Specific transactions like job work, stock transfer, movement of goods for exhibition and all, where a supply is not involved per se, but only the movement of goods is happening. We have the delivery challan. And for inward supplies attracting reverse charge, we have the self-invoice. So recently there have been amendments like introduction of Rule 47A and all these things. Also, we'll be discussing those amendments with the case study itself as and when they have to be applied. So I am moving to the case studies now. So Banana Consortium is there, and what happens, it has entered into a transaction with MMRDA. It is a supply agreed to be made, and for that it has received advances from MMRDA. It is a kind of construction contract, and in turn, what did MMRDA do? It remitted the amounts including GST to its Banana Consortium received advances from MMRDA, and these amounts were remitted by Banana Consortium to its constituent company, ABC Limited. So it is a consortium of various companies. ABC Limited is the constituent company, and Banana Consortium is the company, is the group which has entered into contract with MMRDA. Now, what happens when Banana Consortium remits the amount, including GST, received from MMRDA to ABC Limited? ABC Limited issues a receipt voucher to Banana Consortium. This is because the advance payment is being received. Just now we saw that in case of advances where supply does not happen, supply is at a later stage, receipt voucher is to be issued. Now the advance payment is this advance payment was categorized as mobilization advance, which could also be considered as an interim payment for the project. GST amounts were also received from MMRDA by Banana Consortium, and so the Banana Consortium deposited those GST amounts to the government also, because that we all know, once GST is received, you have to deposit it to the government. Now the key question is, would Banana Consortium be entitled to claim ITC on the strength of a receipt voucher? So I can see a raise of hand. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Venugopal here. Just want to check, like you said, there is an advance received.
Right.
So, where are we saying that the GST amounts are also received from MRDA?
So MMRDA, when it is remitting the amount, when it is paying the advance to the Banana Consortium, it has been written that it is remitting the GST amount also.
But when we say mobilization advance, let's say if the project is of 10 crores, they give 2 crores mobilization advance. When we say project 10 crores, it is 10 crores plus GST.
Right.
And 2 crores mobilization advance is given.
Right.
But generally, when the mobilization advances are given, there are ad hoc advance amounts that gets paid. They may not pay 2 crores plus GST unless otherwise if someone says, because advance is an advance. So when for some reason contract is not going through, the entire of advance has to be returned back. It is not just the GST, correct?
Right.
Or the pre-GST amount.
Right.
So, is it right on our part to make an assumption that the GST also is received, or should we treat it as inclusive of GST?
If we do not make the assumption that GST amount is being remitted by MMRDA, then we have to treat it as inclusive of GST, because Banana Consortium has to pay GST, because the time of supply and the liability to pay GST occurs because whenever the advance is received, you have to pay GST on it.
Yeah, so we will be paying GST on advance.
Right.
We will not be paying GST because we received GST.
Okay, we can take this in this manner, that when we receive the advance, when Banana Consortium has received the advance, it will be paying GST to the government, and the receipt voucher has been issued by ABC Limited to Banana Consortium. So whether on this basis, Banana Consortium is entitled to claim IBC or not.
Now again, my next question is, when we say if we consider the 2 crores as a receipt as an example, so how do we consider? Do we take 2 crores as inclusive of GST and raise the receipt voucher, or we just raise the 2 crores and how do we have to issue it?
We can treat it as inclusive of GST. If there is something mentioned in the contract that has been entered, then we have to go according to that. If it is not mentioned, we can treat it as inclusive of GST, and any difference that is there, that can be settled at the time of final payment. This is just an interim payment.
Yeah, because if you notice, most contracts would say pay an advance, a lump sum. Like even if you book one small function hall, they say, okay, pay me 50,000 advance, 1 lakh advance.
Right.
So the rule 50, when we see the receipt voucher, it would say rate of tax, amount of tax, everything. Now, when the money is received 2 crores, is it necessarily we should do 2 divided by 118, or on 2 crores we just pay 18% from our hand, 36 lakhs? If I do an inclusive basis, it would not be 36 lakhs. It would only be a little less than that, say 30 lakhs. But
Right.
if I do on this basis, so when I issue a receipt voucher for 2 crores, the question that comes is, do I need to show it as 170 plus 30, or we say 200 received and the GST on this would be 36 lakhs?
It is better to show it as 170 plus 30, because then if we go for 2 plus 36, then it will be a cost at this stage.
It will be little cash outflow. Okay, got it.
Actually, I just wanted to ask this MMRDA and ABC, how are they connected? Like, how is the reference there?
ABC Limited and Banana Consortium are group companies.
Okay.
So the contract is between Banana Consortium and MMRDA, and Banana Consortium and ABC Limited are group companies. So, like, ABC Limited is the parent company, we can say, for Banana
So that
Consortium.
is the registered person. ABC Limited is basically the registered person who is remitting the GST.
No, ABC Limited, Banana Consortium, both are registered.
Then why would ABC Limited issue the receipt voucher?
Because the advance that has been received by Banana Consortium from MMRDA, that advance Banana Consortium is, as it is, remitting back to ABC Limited.
Oh.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Just to add to Venugopal sir's point. So to my mind, we have to understand the nature of contract first, considering the fact if the amount is to be remitted because on the initial when we executed the contract, it was not there that we have to refund the amount per se. So considering that aspect, it would be treated as a advance only. So since it is an advance, then question of GST would come into picture.
There was no doubt on the question of GST on advance, sir. The only question is, do we, in a hypothetical case, out of 10 crores, 2 crores is received, do we pay GST on advance on 2 crores, or should we treat 2 crores is inclusive of GST? That is, I will say 1 crore 70 is the taxable amount and 30 lakhs is the tax amount. If I say 2 crores as a taxable amount, the advance the tax to be remitted would be 36 lakhs. So there is a cash flow difference of 6 lakhs.
Right, sir. Noted.
I think unless it is treated.
Arun, your voice is breaking. Whomsoever is speaking.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, there is some problem. What I'm saying is, if it is not mentioned, it's the 2 crores is separate, or the tax is separately on that. That is, I'm getting 2 crores 36 lakhs. Then in that case, you have to consider that 2 crores is the total consideration.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, please continue. There's some network issue at my end. I'll just try to switch the network one.
Okay. Anushree, one more, I'm deviating one more question in this is, let's say again, in the previous slide, if you go, you said it's I'm assuming it's some turnkey contract for MMRDA, and eventually I'm presuming it is a works contract. So let's say the mobilization advance is given for procuring some machinery related equipments, which would be placed, which would be given to MMRDA as a part of the deal. So can the consortium can also say that, okay, my project has material and labor. So if the wordings in the contract is saying that, okay, this is towards material, would still be GST be liable on it? Because we have notification 66, where the procurement towards goods is outside the GST on advances is not applicable. However, the receipt voucher doesn't give the 31(3)(d) doesn't give the leeway. So can we still, should we still say that the GST would be liable?
So anyone from the participants would like to step in?
Yeah, my good friend Unni is always there. Whenever I open the mouth, he will say, I will not agree with you.
Yeah. Sir, one more Venugopalji, see, this is regarding your question. That is 2 crores. Should it be including tax or not? See, the receipt voucher, what are the contents of the receipt voucher? Here, section rule 50. It says the tax amount should be mentioned separately. So, we have to mention that separately, sir.
Sir, if you see rule 50 clause F, it says amount of advance taken. In my example, I have taken 2 crores advance. My only thing is, do I need to say 1 crore 70 plus 30 lakhs, or on 2 crores I have to pay 36 lakhs?
No, see, the subclause sketch says it should amount of tax charge in respect of the taxable goods or service should be indicated. So naturally, you have to indicate that separately. So we have to, if it is there, even it is including or excluding, if it is including, you have to apportion it and then show it separately.
Agreed, sir. All that my question is, I received 2 crores. So do I pay 36 lakhs to the government or 30 lakhs to the government? Is it 170 plus 30 or 200 plus 36? I received only 200.
Yeah, that is including, sir. That is including.
170.
That is including.
Sir, but the advance amount will become 1.7 crore in that case, and not 2 crore.
Yes, so
Yes.
yeah, one question.
Okay.
So the question that Venu sir just put up, as we all know, the advance is GST on advance is there only for in case of services and not goods. So if it is a case where material is also involved, then it is better to enter into an agreement which specifically states that the payment towards material is this much and payment towards the service portion is this much. Then we will be able to, issue receipt voucher for the services portion and pay GST on that, and then the question of ITC will come. If it is not separate, then it is, I think, better to issue receipt voucher still, because at least to comply with the service portion we are doing. Any other thoughts on this from the
Madam,
participants?
but if it is, as you suggest, we have a separate thing. Let's say it is towards advance and I issue a receipt voucher. How will I show that in the receipt voucher? If everything is 2 crores is towards material only, machine or material procurement, then how would I issue the receipt voucher? Would I still issue 1 crore 70 plus 30 lakhs as the GST and issue a receipt voucher, but I will not pay GST to the government?
So this you are talking when we cannot separate the two, right?
I am saying I can separate. I issued towards, let's say the advance is towards material.
Mhm.
Okay, now I received 2 crores. Now in the call we have taken a conclusion. Whenever I have received inclusive basis, I will treat it as inclusive basis. So even in this case, even if it is exclusively for material, I would issue a receipt voucher for 1 crore 70 as advance taken, 18% GST, amount of tax charge in respect of taxable goods is 30 lakhs. I am issuing a receipt voucher. Is that how I should do?
If it is only for material, then should we even go for paying the GST? Because as such, GST is
No, I am not talking about paying GST. I am talking about issuing of receipt.
issuing of receipt voucher. Yes, issuing of receipt voucher we should do in the same manner.
Yeah, so I will issue the receipt voucher by showing GST, but I will not be paying to the government. Is that the understanding correct? I will show that I have collected GST, but I will not pay GST to the government.
If it is solely for material, we are able to, bifurcate that. Then we should not treat it as inclusive of GST. We should
Why
only
is
issue
this
receipt
statement?
voucher for the advance received, and there should be no GST portion in that. We should not treat it as inclusive of GST.
If it is service, why are we doing this way? And if it is goods, why are we doing other way? I would feel irrespective of the goods or services, I should do the same way. A remittance, because of the time of supply, goods has differed, I am not remitting it. That would be my view.
Mhm.
But the Venugopaal, the composite supply cannot be verificated, no?
No,
If it is
I am talking in a contract where exclusively if it is material.
Yeah. But if it is a works contract as such per se, then we cannot be bifurcating it into materials and then services.
I
That is the earliest Gann and consolidation.
Yeah, I just, in fact, there is a Gujarat Advanced Courts and Appellate Authorities ruling also. I agree with the view, but what if it is exclusively material?
Yeah, what's your question, Venu?
No, assuming the material contract is for 10 crores plus GST,
Okay,
I have received 2 crores advance.
okay.
Now, when I get a 2 crores advance, how do I issue the receipt voucher? Would I issue a receipt voucher to my customer as 1.7 crores mobilization advance towards material and 30 lakhs GST? Will I still issue that receipt voucher in that format?
Now, let me add in my views on this.
Yes.
Since after November 15, 2017, the time of supply has been deferred. So
Hmm.
there is no levy as on the date on which you get the receipt when it is pertaining to an advance for supply of goods. So when there is no levy, the charge of 9(1) itself fails. So even if you go to Rule 50, it says the amount of tax charge has to be declared there. So when the charging section itself is not yet triggered as on the date of advance, you are not supposed to show tax in your receipt voucher.
Yeah. And that's the reason. And that's the reason for goods we are not paying the tax on the advances. No.
No, see, section 12 is not amended. So, and levy, it's not that levy is not there. The time of supply is deferred. Both are two different things.
No,
Yeah.
time of supply is critical for the levy. Unless you arrive at the time of supply, the levy has not yet crystallized.
No, levy exists, but when we have to pay is deferred. We cannot say that 9 doesn't exist. 9 exists, but it is paid at a different time interval.
No, I don't think so, because the levy is not there only on the advance. The levy is only there at the time of, as you rightly pointed out, when I'm supplying the goods or
I
not
agree
before
with
supply.
Venugopal sir. See, section
Right.
7 even agree to supply the levy triggers. But
Right.
one thing, even section 12, it start with liability to pay. See, levy is triggered, but liability is not there. It's like accrual and payment. See, once it is there, but the liability is not triggered. See, the levy is created, liability is created. But the only thing is I need not pay till the time of supply. Once time of supply triggers, levy plus liability to pay both get triggered.
Sir, 7 applies. I agree because advances are covered. But the question is whether 9(1) triggers.
Yes, sir. 9(1) triggers. No, when the supply is there, 9. See, when agree to supply, 7 triggers. Once supply is there, goods is there, 9 is also triggers. No.
Sir, my humble submission would be on this, that with respect to 9, that would determine whether that amount is actually taxable or not. Whether
sir,
the
only
tax has to be
transaction.
levied on that point will be determined through time of supply.
Correct.
So in this scenario, if the amount is received on advance received on material, the amount will in itself be taxable due to 9, but it will not levy GST on that point of time because of time of supply.
Time of supply. Correct. Agreed.
So precisely coming back to Venuji's original question, we'll issue the receipt voucher for 2 lakhs. only.
You may receive it. It can be in the nature of a commercial receipt voucher, but GST will not be levied on that amount.
Yes, that's it.
So, are you saying that you will issue the 2 crores receipt, and in the receipt voucher, the rate of tax you'll put 0 and the tax you'll put 0? Is that what you are saying?
No, this is not a receipt voucher as per section 50.
Why will you not issue a receipt voucher for goods?
Because there is no tax on that, no, that point of time.
No,
See,
receipt voucher.
If you go to 50F,
As
if you go to
soon as
50F,
advance is received, we need to issue a receipt voucher.
Yeah.
a receipt voucher shall be, a receipt voucher referred to in clause D, subsection 3 of 31.
Correct.
So 31 3D, it speaks of what? It speaks of a receipt voucher where tax is involved, right?
Huh. No.
Let's go to 31 3D.
31 3
Let's go to
clearly says
31 3D.
supply of goods or services or both. So it should be a standalone goods or services or could be both. So 31 3D doesn't say don't issue receipt vouchers if it is goods. 66/2017
Yes, it says,
only. Yeah.
Yeah, we can issue a receipt voucher.
How will you issue? My question is 170 plus 30 or 200 plus 0?
No, 200 plus 0.
200 plus 0.
Okay, I am of the view I will still issue 170 plus 30, but I will not make the payment of taxes. Because I will not have a different different treatment for services and goods. In case of services, if we all agree saying that if I receive 200, I should be showing as 170 plus 30. Even goods, it is 170 plus 30. Remittance is different.
Sir, so you mean to say
sir,
that you are keeping a deposit of the government's tax with you until it is actually remitted. So
No.
it will be treated as a deposit, you mean to say?
Yes, now you can trigger 76 other things. Now, yeah, so this is
But
my
then,
view.
Yeah, then interest will also accrue. Then if you are saying that you're collecting tax,
It would be collected tax and not remitted.
yes.
Yeah. So now I want to.
Because it is liable to remit because it is deferred by the provisions itself.
When am I liable to remit? That is the time at which I have to remit. If my liability is arising 3 months later, 6 months later, when the contract is performed, completed, that is when I will be like, I've received money to mobilize the goods. I am mobilizing it. I am still not making the supply.
No, Venugopalji, section 32. Section 32.
Sir, may I? Am I
Section
audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Bulus.
Gurjit sir.
Yes,
Yeah, Gurjit sir, please, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
in GSTR1, there is a separate table for reporting receipt vouchers.
Yes.
So if we
Yeah.
go by what Venu sir is saying that, so Venu sir, would we show the receipt voucher there and would we show the GST amount there if we go according to what you are saying, or we will not show there? You're talking about remitting. Let's keep the remittance apart for a while. How are we going to report? How are you suggesting to report it in GSTR1?
I am saying that I will not report. That is in table
You
13, I will show
receipt voucher, but you will not report. Then that it does not make sense, sir.
no, I'm saying I will report in table 13, but I will not report in table 11.
Okay.
Table 13 is just documents issued. It will be in
Yeah.
table 11 also. It has to be issued. It could be tax, could be zero. It is not only tax which is there.
See, table 11.
In
Table
my
11.
view, my view is that receipt voucher has to be issued since advance was received. The tax involvement would be zero. Tax involvement will come when supply happens. When invoice is issued, then the tax involvement would be there, irrespective of whether the payment has been received or not, or whether it has been received in advance. When was the payment received? It was not related to the payment received for goods. It is just when the supply happens, the tax would have to be paid. So receipt voucher would be for 2 crores, sans any tax amount, to be reported as an advance. There could be some advances where no tax is involved. So it is not that when the receipt voucher is shown as an advance, is shown, tax must be shown there. If we issue a receipt voucher with showing GST and we don't report it in the advances table, but to me, it doesn't seem appropriate, sir.
So then
But
we are
we can,
taking,
yeah.
I get you. So then we are taking a position that when the receipt is for services, we treat it as inclusive of taxes. We show 170 plus 30. And when we receive for goods, we will be showing 200 plus 0. Is this the view of the house?
Yes,
Yes.
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 Yeah, we take it as inclusive of taxes only because of cash flow. It could be any other way also. Like you said, it inclusive of taxes for services, we say because we wish to preserve cash.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And as such, Gurjit sir, there is no restriction in the law also for considering it.
Yeah, there's no
Well,
restriction in the law, and for preservation, since it is allowable law, we do it that. But the other method is also there, but then that is to the disadvantage of the registered person. So
Yeah.
there is no restriction in the law, so we take it as inclusive of taxes, sir.
So if that is the case, you take an example where I'm selling the goods 1 lakh plus tax, and I have received 100% amount and tax, and I need to manufacture and supply after 6 months. Now I received 1,18,000. Do you say now also it is a zero and 1,18,000 you show it as a tax?
And the
Basic
receipt
amount
voucher.
not. You will not show tax separately.
No, because if you see there is a distinction in 12.2 and 13.2. No, 13.2 says 13.2 says date of issue of invoice when the supplier is the issue is if the invoice is issued within the period prescribed, or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier, for the consideration of time of supply, which is not present in 12.2a. So therefore, even if I'm receiving it 6 months in advance, which happens, like one of my clients, they are manufacturing spare parts for aircrafts. So they get payment 9 to 10 months in advance. So since
The question is disclosing in the receipt voucher.
Arudha, the question is, how do I issue the receipt voucher if I receive the 100% advance? So when I received 1,18,000 rupees, will I issue a receipt voucher saying that the amount of advance taken is 1,18,000, and the tax is 0, rate of tax is 0. Is that how we will issue the receipt?
Yeah, that is how we are showing, because what can happen is at any point of time the goods, the order may get cancelled, the order may get amended. So that's why, and as the law allows me to consider the time of supply at a later point of time. So 118 is considered as advance, and only on the date I'm executing the contract, either before or at the time of supply, I'm raising the tax invoice for 118, 1,18,000.
The question is whether the vendor would give you 1,18,000, because 18,000 is not a liability as on the date of advance.
Yeah,
It will
right.
be the
They're
liability.
giving us 1 lakh, exactly. So they're
Yeah,
giving us
so
1
they
lakh.
will give only 1 lakh. Why they will give 18,000 extra to you?
No, no,
For that?
Right.
Virender sir, it is a hypothetical question from Mylar, but otherwise practically looking, if I am the vendor, I have to go and procure. I need cash. I can't pay
Yes.
that, assuming I have to pay to GST. Why will I pay from my pocket? I am telling that you give me my cash outflow full. Now he has given. Now let us consider he has given. So now what?
You are correct, sir.
Depends on
But
the
then
bargaining power.
the thing is that 1 lakh you need for the purpose of procurement. The 18,000
No,
you
no.
need for the purpose of deposit of tax.
No, no, no. I need 1,18,000 for procurement. My vendor from whom I am buying, I have to pay him GST in cash, no? Why will I pay from my pocket?
Though practically we get 1 lakh, yeah, but this can do still go on.
I will always say that first from whomsoever I am buying, I have to pay that person GST in cash. So I need the advance. So let's not get it why. Assuming if that is there, now what is the question?
Sir, and in reporting in the GSTR1, in the current example, will we take 1 crore 70 lakh or 2 crore? While
We take 1 crore
reporting,
70 lakhs, no?
it has to be 1 crore 70 lakh only, no?
We take 1 crore 70 lakhs plus GST, 2 crores.
The tax will be the remaining 30 lakh,
Yes.
and 1 crore 70 lakh will be the advance amount that is received, that we will show as received.
Right.
So suppose then there is a March, 31st March, then you will show as a liability of 30 lakhs in your balance sheet that it is collected and not paid.
No, it's paid, no.
Okay.
No. It's an advance, na. I have not issued the invoice. Time of supply is not triggered.
Right.
So suppose there is a 31st March in between. I received 2
Yes.
crore.
Yes.
So if you say 170 plus 30 is on account of GST, then in the balance sheet I will show 30 as my liability, and then it would be carried forward till I issue the invoice, and I will pay the amount after 6 months or like that. Would that be correct?
Sir, I like to add one point.
Yes, Arun, yeah.
So if the supply of the goods on which I have received the advance would be reported in the table 11,
yes,
then it will be added in my AATU, because that amount will goes to 3.1.A of the GSTR 3B.
Right.
And based on the 3B, my total AATU will be calculated.
Yes.
But this is not, this ideally should not be added in my AATU.
No, I think that is a different question. We'll first go through Virendraji's question first. He has a right of first come, first served basis.
No. So, Arun sir, I only point say that if it is against supply of the goods, then it should not be reported. Only numbering would be okay in the table 13, but it should not goes to table 11.
But if you're issuing a receipt voucher, then that should be reported.
Yeah, that should be reported. Because now if you're talking about, you know better, you know the
Issue
best,
of
about
receipt-
hard blocking and all.
Issue of receipt voucher is as per the law. It is to be issued, na?
Yes, and it has to be reported.
Yeah, it has to be reported.
Or how can I adjust it later on? When I have to adjust it, when I'm raising the invoice and I have to adjust the advance, then how do I adjust that? So that is again a challenge that we'll have. But coming back to Virendraji's question, Virendraji's main question was the accounting aspect as to if I'm showing it as 1 crore 70 lakhs and 30 lakhs as tax payable. So whether that will come in my liability. That is what you're asking, right, Virendraji?
Right.
Yes.
So, but that will be, yeah, that will come in my liability because on April 20th, I'll be, disposing of that 30 lakhs, right?
Now you would not be depositing on April 20th. You would be depositing when you are issuing the invoice, say after 6 months.
Because in case of goods, the liability.
No, actually, you're saying about goods, you're saying about goods.
Yeah,
He's
it's
saying
on
about
goods.
No, for goods, I'll show total of 2 crores. I'll not show anything.
Yeah, correct. So that's why I'm telling, Venugopalji is asking, na, 170 plus 30 or 2 crore. So
Acha, 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 to investment of goods.
on that point, I'm telling you.
So for goods and not. So now coming back to Arunji's question. So Arunji, you are saying that if you report it in there, it's coming back to my AATO. So that is the main question, right? But it should come. No, that is the intent of the law. That the advance which I am receiving on the supply of services, that is also part of my aggregate turnover.
Yes.
But I think we should let Anushri to move forward. It's 42 minutes and we are on slide 1.
Is it still the part of the WTO? What is the definition of WTO? Whether advance received is also part of the WTO. It's not a turnover.
No, but
it's
see,
just a deposit.
It's part of turnover. According to me,
It's
aggregate turnover would include the advances received because it's liable to be taxed.
Sir, even for
Is it
goods also
specifically
deposit.
mentioned?
so that's why we are showing it in table 4 of GSTR 9.
For F.
That
It
advance
should
to the
be
extent
part of-
invoice is not issued. That's it.
Correct.
So, good angle of goods that we have added to this receipt voucher.
Yes.
But still, finally, maybe one conclusion note, we should have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in case of goods, the House is agreeing on 2 plus 0 and a receipt voucher should be issued. In case it is 170 plus 30, the question remains as to what should we do about 30? We should show it as a liability or we should pay that GST to the government also. Then, so concluding it as per the law, if we go strictly by the law and we read Rule 36. So Rule 36 only allows ITC on the strength of an invoice, not on the strength of a receipt voucher. But since it has been discussed in section 31, the receipt voucher has been discussed in section 31. There was a case, L&T IHI Consortium versus Union of India. The judgment was there on 14 November 2024, where the court said that, the receipt voucher is part of section 31, which talks about tax-paying documents. So the ITC should be allowed on the strength of receipt voucher also, because Rule 36 and and section 31 should be read holistically, not in a narrow manner, so as to restrict the ITC only on the basis of tax invoice rather than a receipt voucher also. So what is the view of the House on this thing? Should we, if we have situations of this kind, should we take ITC on the basis of receipt voucher, taking this judgment as the base, or we should, take the ITC, reverse it, then keep it for reclaiming in future when the law is more clear on this part?
So
If we look at Rule 36.
Does it come in 2B once we report in 11?
Yes, that is another question. So in Rule 36, when the subsection 4 has been added and it talks about 2B, what will happen in this case? Because then there's no mechanism in case of receipt voucher, to reflect it in GSTR 2B. So your voice is not audible.
So I think this was in a particular factual matrix. This particular judgment of the Honorable Bombay High Court was in a particular factual matrix, and it was very peculiar. So I think it should not be generalized, because the intent of not allowing ITC on the advances is that the ITC will be allowed only at the time of receipt of the invoice by the person, because that's what 16.2 says.
16.2 says, right?
Yeah, so that is one thing. And now after 16.2 AA, I think it's all the more difficult. At least prior to 1st January 2022, this could be a tax position that we could take still on a very risky basis. Some of the works contractors have taken. But I think post 1st January 2022, this is a very risky proposition.
So what the court has taken the view in this point is that they're saying that the time of supply has been triggered. That's why the GST has been levied on that point. So to a certain degree, supply has been incurred. in itself. Since the supply is incurred, so this document would per se be treated as a tax-paying document and 16 would be levied. However,
Right.
16 being a specific section, so specific will prevail over general. So the conditions has to be followed as per section
Followed.
16.
Right. Right.
Adding to it, when we are deeming on the receipt of advance, when we are deeming this as a supply, then we should, in the case of ITC also, we should, at least for the purpose of taking ITC, we should deem it as a receipt of goods also. Although 16.2 says on actual receipt of goods or services, we can take the ITC. But since on the supply side we are deeming it, then on the ITC side also the law should be aligned, and it should be allowed on deemed receipt of goods only for the limited purpose of ITC. I'm saying that it should be considered as deemed receipt of goods. This is one of my views.
Right. Maybe now we can move on to the second portion.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next case study. Sunshine Limited entered into a contract to purchase goods that were to be delivered in multiple batches over time. So it is a case of goods sent in lots in various consignments. The first consignment was dispatched in financial year 23-24, and the supplier issued an invoice accordingly. However, the final lot was received on 5th December 2024 by the recipient. So now the question involved here, the issue involved here is, can Sunshine Limited claim ITC on the invoice issued in financial year 23-24, even though the final batch of goods was received in the next financial year? And would the timing of the last lot receipt affect the eligibility of ITC under GST regulations? So just to touch upon, in section 16.2 and 16.4, we know a proviso has been added to section 16.2, which says provided that where the goods against an invoice are received in lots or installments, the registered person shall be entitled to take credit upon receipt of the last lot or installment. And as Rule 55 says, we all know that the supplier shall issue the complete invoice before dispatch of the first consignment itself. So they are asking for the complete invoice even right at the time of first dispatch. And the original copy of invoice shall be sent along with last consignment. In between, they are sending delivery challan along with certified copy of invoice. So what should be the case of ITC in this? And is it right that the invoice goes with the first consignment and in the last, the final original invoice is going? In between, can we take ITC on the basis of delivery challan then?
So invoice was issued on 23-24. So they would be reported in the GSTR1 in 23-24. So it would be reflected in 2B in 23-24. The
Yes.
final lot was received in December 24. So it is the next financial year 24-25. In that financial year, it would not be in 2B.
Yes.
Any other views of the
Also-
house? I think because this is a very contentious issue that we are facing. In fact, I was surprised when I was appearing before the appellate authority. The appellate authority was saying, why are you not representing against this? This is a gross injustice to the taxpayer. Because आपने जो बताया ना, that in our case, 98% was received within a particular financial year. Only 2% was received in the next financial year. So the client, they had actually availed the goods, availed the ITC, and ITC was obviously rejected. And so that was the thing. So what is the view of the house on this? Or like how are they facing? Because we have taken the ground about proportionality, materiality, and all those aspects. Then when out of 100%, 98% I'm receiving already in one particular financial year, just for the sake of a procedure, whether for 2%, which I'm receiving the next year, can the entire 100% be disallowed?
What happens if the 2% is destroyed? I will never get the 2%, so I'm never supposed to take the credit.
Yes. That is again another important thing, right? So, Unniji, what's your view on this? Have you taken a different position, like wherein you have availed or things like that?
We have taken credits always on the base of the invoice on the stating that when the driver takes possession at the factory gate, it is constructive receipt.
So is that for the last receipt you're saying, or also for the first?
For every credit, that is the possession we've been taking.
Okay, so for the
For
first
every
invoice.
consignment, you take ITC like on.
Yep.
Any other view? So I think as the law says, it is on the final consignment. Yes.
My only submission would be that the Rule 55, we should not be reading along with this. That is just for transportation of goods when those goods are moving in multiple vehicles in a batch. So the proviso in the section is for multiple consignments sent at a periodical intervals. So rule is in a different context. The question remains, the primary question which you have raised in your query, that remains, yes, that is a contentious question, like Arupta was saying. But there's a reference to the rule. I was just trying to highlight that it is in a different context. The Rule 55, sub-rule 5, which you were highlighting, that is not in relation to this particular proviso, would be my understanding.
Anushree, can you take us to? Can you take us to the previous rule 55? No, the previous slide, I think, or the slide where you mentioned about Rule 55.
Next slide.
Yes.
This one. So Gurjit sir is saying that it's about the transportation. So it's not about the availability of ITC from that angle.
Yes, but then proviso to section 16.2 says, right, that you have to take it upon the last install. So should we conclude the case study then?
Yeah, ma'am. I think this we can do. Yeah.
So as we all, according to the view of the House, we can take it either proportionately or on every consignment basis that I think one of the members said. And another view could be that you, for alignment with the issue of 2B, we can take it for the consignments that are there before the final consignment. We can take it, reverse it, and then reclaim it upon receipt of final consignment.
But if meanwhile, will the 16.4 will not be attracted? Say, for example, the invoice was of 23-24 and the last consignment was being received on, let's say, first in the month of December. In between 16.4 ka time limit being triggered. So should I not require to reverse?
So that is why we are talking about reclaiming, because reclaiming does not attract time bar provisions. That is the issue itself, that if the last lot is coming after the time barring provision of 16.4, what should we do?
Okay.
Yes, that is again a major issue.
So moving on to the next case study.
But Anushree, we have around 4 minutes left. But I think we can quickly,
So we can do this case study, and then if we like the others, we can continue in the next session.
Then we have kept the next session also for this one.
Okay. So Harshit Limited received legal advocacy services for the financial year 23-24 from Advocate Jatin Kumar for an amount of rupees 10 lakh, on which the company has paid GST on 2nd December 2024 under RCM. So the services were received in financial year 23-24. Amount was 10 lakh. The company has paid GST on 2nd December under RCM. Now, the issue involved is Harshit Limited entitled to claim ITC on such services? And what will be the situation pre and post Rule 47A? So if we look at 31(3)(f), self-invoice is to be issued. And now Rule 47A has been inserted from 1/11/2024, which says that the self-invoice is to be issued within a period of 30 days from the date of receipt of supply of goods or services or both. We have to keep the timeline of section 16(4) also in mind. So going back to the question, what should Harshit Limited do to claim ITC? We can have views of the house and then we'll quickly close it.
Also, so ma'am, you want to share something on this?
Yeah, ITC can be taken, only interest will be applicable from the date when it was due. Because it's already happened in 23-24 and there is a time delay of almost 6 months. So interest will be applicable, ITC is allowed.
Any other view on this?
So does the interest cure the defect of delay in issuance of self-invoice? Can we say that?
I don't think so. So that's why I think the next question is very important. What the amendment that is coming?
Yes.
I mean, invoice would be issued by Jatin Kumar Gola, right? I mean, invoice would be issued. It's not the case that you have to raise a self-invoice. Invoice would be issued with a note that RCM is applicable on this invoice because it pertains to legal services.
No, what if, ma'am, if he is not registered?
Oh, what if he's not registered?
He is not registered. That is the
meaning. And the basic question is whether the invoice issued by Jatin, it would be a tax invoice or it would be a regular invoice. First of all, whether section 31 applicable for him or not.
Whether he is a registered person or not, that would be the question. And here, as per the facts given in the question, he is not a registered person.
And he is not required to register also.
He is not required to register.
Yeah.
But Anushree ma'am, I will take liberty of having a closure on this now because we need a discussion on 47A through detail because it's one of the important amendments. So may I request you to if we can continue this in the next session?
Sure, sir.
Because it's almost 10 and we'll also get time to do some homework on the post 47A. So yeah, alarm is also going on for 10 AM. So thank you, Anushree ma'am, for the wonderful initiation that we had today, the discussion that we had and the case study that we have brought in. And we hope that everybody will join again in the next Saturday, that is on the 5th of April. So let's again join back to continue on this journey of section 31, which is one of the contentious sections, I would say, after section 16. Though it seems to be very harmless and benign, but at times it brings in huge litigations. So I think with this, I would really like to thank all the members for joining in because it's your attendance that gives the courage to the speaker as well as to all of us to actually continue this journey of Saturday morning sessions, which you fondly say SMS. So I would also like to say thanks to Venuji for initiating the session and of course Unniji and Arpitji for always being there in planning and designing because maybe me and Venuji at the front face which you see, but the back end is also handled by Unniji and Arpitji. So they also support us in the entire planning. So thank you very much. And thank you, Anushree, once again. Looking forward to meet you on the 5th of April next Saturday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Have a wonderful weekend.